It's not about memorizing a bunch of moves, but understanding the moves. It is important to understand the ideas of the opening. If you don't understand an opening's positional and tactical basics, then you cannot create any kind of realistic strategy. For instance, after the moves pawn to e4 and then pawn to c5, we enter the Sicilian. And instead of normal standard moves such as knight f3, white plays the pawn to b4. C takes b4, followed by pawn to a3, and instead of capturing, black continues with pawn to e5, getting a stake in the center. White plays the pawn to e5 instead of taking on a3, choosing activity over material to divert black's pawn from the center, away from covering the d4 square. And the game could continue in like manner. And here, white plays the pawn to d4 in order to establish the ideal pawn center. By playing the pawn to d5, black chooses to complicate the game further as a way to counter white's wing gambit. Arm yourself with knowledge in order to play effectively. And now let's move on. Now, what is the idea behind knight f3 on move 1 by white? Knight f3 is a transpositional device, and it is played in order to reach particular or similar positions, but from a different sequence of moves. For instance, after the move knight f3, if black is not careful, he runs the risk of running unprepared into a highly theoretical opening. For example, considering the possibilities after knight f3 on move 1, then after, let's say, pawn to c5, white can opt for e4. And now, after d6, d4, cd, knight captures on d4, we are into the main line of the Sicilian defense. And after knight c6, white can play the pawn to c4, going into a Maroczy bind. Or alternatively, can play the knight to c3. Open games that feature wide open positions that allow your pieces to move around and create chaos. So in a nutshell, this is what you want to have in your repertoire. When you study chess, it's memorization, pattern recognition, and creativity. That covers a whole range of things. Strategy, the ideas behind the moves, understanding the moves, memorization, why? For the purpose of pattern recognition. And then also you can take the stepping stone method and employ the stepping stone method when you're studying openings or even chess puzzles. The stepping stone method, that's figuring out what to do after each move, or in a given position, what is the next move to play. And I advise you to play both sides of an opening, even those positions in which black's position is slightly worse. Play the black side. Why do I say this? Because you need to know what to be on the lookout for when you're playing those positions in which black's position is inferior or slightly worse, and then play the side that is advantageous. And this is essential to chess growth. And now I will conclude this video by saying I recommend the Caro-Kann. Study the Caro-Kann if you want an opening that is very solid for black and that allows black to play for a win. Thank you. That is all I have for now. Stay tuned for my next video.